Thank you to our newest Dark Stars, Jalen Ulbrich, Chelsea Perry, Christy Ramsher, Florida Gallagher, Laura Huggins, Brooke Shell, James Harrington, and JC. And to our newest $5 Darksider, Cass Reed. Get bonus rewards such as unreleased episodes, sticker packs, shoutouts, giveaway contests, merch discounts, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/tapesfromthedarkside.
In 2001, he shot and killed his 8-year-old son on a hunting trip. Authorities determined it was an accident.
I can't believe it because even though he was a jerk, I remember when he shot his son because they were living on the street when it happened. And I remember how hurt and upset he was. But after this, it makes you wonder if it was an accident when he killed his son.
I think everyone has a bit of a fascination with the dark side. I myself have always loved the dark side as well. I think it's something that everyone secretly longs for and wants.
Tapes from the Dark Side contains descriptions of violence and sexuality. Listener discretion is advised.
Let's go back in time 2 decades. The year is 2001, November 14th, and though it's not directly relevant to this case, it's worth noting that it's been just over 1 month since September 11th, when America fell victim to one of the deadliest terrorist attacks in human history, and the country is suffering a collective trauma hangover. Don Spirit is 38 years old, and he's on a week-long hunting trip at Lake Kissimmee State Park, Florida. The family had not yet moved to Bell and were living in Tampa at the time, which is about an hour and a half west of where they were camped. Don's son Kyle is 9 years old, and his daughter Sarah, who would later become one of his victims, is 15 years old. She stayed home with her mother, Christine, and had no involvement in this particular incident. I found out later in my research there was actually one other person there on the day of this tragic accident. Besides for Don, who fired the gun, and Kyle, the son who was killed, this person had no involvement in the 2014 massacre, and so was left out of all of the news coverage of that event. But he was very much involved in the tragic accident in 2001. And that person is Don and Christine's middle child, Josh Spirit, who was around age 11 at the time of this hunting accident. He was indeed present on this hunting trip, and despite his young age, he would be subpoenaed to testify in the trial against his father. Testimony that would never be heard because Don, on the advice of his attorney, would later plead no contest to the charges brought against him. Originally, this hunting trip was planned to be only Josh and his father, Don. But the 9-year-old Kyle begged his father to let him come, saying that it wasn't fair that his older brother always got to do the fun stuff. Don finally acquiesced, but made one critical rule. Kyle could watch, but he would not be allowed to hunt. The agreement was made, and so the three set out for their 5-day hunting excursion. For the most part, everything went according to plan. Don had gotten permission from the kids' school to get them out of class. He secured a hunting permit from the state park that they were visiting. They woke up at 5 a.m. each day, right at the crack of dawn, to get a head start on the wildlife. They camped out, they cooked food over a fire, and all was well until the final day of their adventure. It was a Wednesday morning, and Don was tired from waking up at 5 a.m. each day. And he had worn himself out the night prior, cooking a heavy meal of potatoes, green beans, and pork chops. He hinted to Josh and Kyle that it'd be nice if they had a laid-back last day. But the boys had different plans, as boys do. They begged Don to let them go out one last time. And I guess there was that part of him that didn't want to let him down. So they packed up their hunting gear into the pickup and went out to find one last hunting spot. Dressed in bright hunter's orange vests, they returned to the pickup hours later with no luck. A light, foreboding rain began to fall. The time was around 11:30 a.m. When they had reached the truck, Don noticed a spot of rust that was beginning to form on the barrel of the .300 caliber Browning rifle. The following account is taken verbatim from the Tampa Times newspaper. Don said he used his thumb to rub in some oil on the rust mark. The gun was resting on its case, which he had placed on the back of the pickup truck. His hands never got near the trigger, he said. He suspected he pushed down on the gun as he rubbed in the oil, causing either a strap from the case or the dimpled material in the case to engage the trigger at the exact moment when Kyle's head was in front of the barrel, and the high-powered bolt-action rifle fired a single .300 caliber bullet through Kyle's spirit's head. Don said he knew the gun was loaded, but thought the safety was on. In a state of shock, Don and Josh placed Kyle's limp body in the back of the pickup truck and began to drive the 7 miles out of the thick woods, frantically hoping to find medical help. Don would later say one of his biggest regrets was not doing more to shield Josh from the grisly sight of his brother's mutilated body. As they sped down a remote dirt road, Don dialed 911 over and over and over again, but each time was met with a call failed message on his phone. Don's pickup suddenly came upon another driver, and he quickly swerved around to pass. That driver happened to be a fellow hunter, Mike Evans, 46 years old. Mike caught sight of Kyle's bloodied body in the back of the pickup truck, and he sped up to follow and see what was going on. When Don pulled over to the next campsite, Mike also pulled over. Mike Evans was quoted in the newspaper as saying, "It was the most horrible thing I'd ever seen." Don fell out of his truck to his knees and screamed into the dirt, "Why me?" Other campers who were nearby took notice of the scene, and they quickly gathered around Don to see what they might be able to do to help. They collectively dialed 911 on their phones. Mike said that Don was so hysterical he thought the man might try to harm himself. Finally, law enforcement and medics arrived on scene, but it would be too late. A .300 Winchester Magnum bullet is what is often used to hunt apex predators such as grizzly bears. And the skull of a 9-year-old boy is simply no match for a headshot at close range. One of the detectives who was present that day stated, "It was a high-powered rifle. You can imagine what it could have done." Don was later interviewed by the Tampa Times newspaper about the incident and was quoted saying, "I may not have lived the best life, but I know that this was an accident. I know that none of that other stuff matters when it comes to my son being dead. Dead because something went really wrong." In 1998, 3 years before the tragic accident, Don was convicted in Florida for felony possession of marijuana. Possession of more than 20 grams is a felony in the state, which is a little over 2/3 of an ounce. This conviction would officially make Don a felon in the state of Florida. Felons are not permitted to own firearms, and so, while the investigation into the incident in 2001 resulted in authorities labeling it an honest accident, they charged Don Spirit with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. If found guilty, the charge would carry a mandatory minimum sentence of 3 years in state prison. Don pled nolo contendere, or no contest, to 1 count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. It is a guilty plea without admitting guilt. From the Latin phrase, it literally means I do not wish to contest. And thus he did the only thing anyone could really do in that position, which is throw himself at the mercy of the court in hopes of receiving some leniency in sentencing, which was a long shot, being that minimum sentences are nearly impossible to circumvent. One person who we haven't yet focused on is the one, besides for Josh Spirit, who I think I might have the most sympathy for in this case, and that is Don Spirit's wife, Christine Spirit. They divorced 2 years later, but back in 2003, when sentencing was set to occur, Christine Spirit wrote a letter to the court, one that would unwittingly foreshadow later events. This letter was not immediately available to the public. I had to do some digging to find it, and those of you who are part of our Facebook group know that a couple weeks back I was able to locate a PDF online in the Florida Records database. After the break, we will review the contents of this letter. Tapes from the Dark Side is a fully independent podcast, operational only through the grace and the generosity of people just like you. Show your support by joining our Patreon. You can get free stickers, official stickers. We finally have them. We also have a really cool 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch holographic sticker for our highest tier, the Dark Star tier, and we only have 6 spots left. We are about to ship those out, so don't miss out. If you're hearing this, you probably have time before that shipment goes out. And if you don't worry, I'll order some more. But the point is, go to patreon.com/tapes from the dark side. Go there right now or after the show, whenever you can. If you're driving, don't mess on your phone. Anyways, you get the point. Go to patreon.com/tapes from the dark side. We are almost to 100 backers. When we get there, we're going to do a special live stream where we will watch a show, maybe To Catch a Predator together, maybe something else, I don't know. But we'll also do a giveaway for a handmade mug. That's all I got. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me. And let's get back to the show. One day after my inquiry, the Osceola County clerk responded to my digital document request, and they made this file available for access. The header reads Don and Christine Spirit, and underneath lists their address, and on the right and left-hand sides of the page, at the top are 2 identical watermarks, an apple, and underneath the handwritten letters JAX. Effectively spelling Applejacks, Kyle's nickname. It's not often that I will read aloud an entire letter, but in this specific case, I believe it gives us a rare insight into the mind of one of the collateral victims of the crime in question, and by proxy, a glimpse at the primary romantic relationship of our perpetrator, Don Spirit. Addressed to the judge, Honorary Thomas W. Turner.
Dear Sir, on March 3rd, you will be sentencing my husband. I wanted to write to you to let you know that my husband is not mentally able to do 3 years in prison. The loss of our son has really taken a toll on him, and he blames himself every day. He has punished himself more than the court system could ever punish him. Since our son's death, my husband has been severely depressed. The doctors have not found a medication yet to help him. There's not a day that goes by that I don't catch him crying. His depression is so bad that he doesn't sleep at night. There are times that I'm afraid that he will hurt someone. I'm afraid to leave him alone. I make sure that me or one of the kids are with him at all times. He has been to the crisis stabilization unit twice since August. I had to have him go back into the stabilization unit this past weekend because I was afraid of him hurting himself. The children and I have been his life support, and by taking him away from us, you could kill him. Losing a child is hard, and I wouldn't want anybody to have to experience it. Staying together and being here for each other has helped all of us. Life for me will be horrible without him. Every time the phone rings, I'll be thinking that it is the jail calling to say he killed himself. These next few years are also very important years of our children's life. Our son is going to be 13 at the end of this month, and our daughter is 17. Our daughter is also expecting a baby in May. I understand that this charge carries a 3-year minimum mandatory, but I feel that each case should be treated individually according to their circumstances. These last few months I have been on the internet looking up cases. I found cases prior to this 3-year minimum mandatory where people who were charged with firearm and drug possession charges received less time than what my husband is receiving. The 3-year minimum mandatory came into effect on July 1st, 1999, and my husband's felony charges were in 1996. I feel that if the 99 law is going to be used, then any felony charge prior to 99 should not be used against him. Besides that, my husband doesn't even have enough points to go to prison. I know that you have to go by the law and the minimum mandatory, but I just wanted to let you know how I feel and how this is going to affect my family. Our family has been through so much, and I don't know how much more we can stand. Is it going to be enough for the state when this sentence causes my husband to commit suicide? Because that is what I feel is going to happen. Sincerely, Christine Spirit.
February 10th, 2003. Don Spirit was indeed sentenced to 3 years in state prison. He would spend the years 2003, 2004, 2005, and up to March of 2006 behind bars. 1 year before his release, his wife, Christine, would successfully file for divorce. She cited domestic abuse as one of the reasons for her filing, and though I could not find those reports to corroborate her statement, I don't find it the least bit surprising. When her father was sent to prison, Sarah was 17 years old and pregnant with her first child. By the time Don was released from prison, Caleb was 2 years old, and Sarah had given birth to her first daughter, Kylie, in 2005. And she was pregnant with Jonathan, who would be born exactly 1 month after Don's release. We know that Sarah would go on to have 3 more kids by a different father. And as we know, all 6 of these children would die at the hands of Don Spirit, their grandfather. I wish I could tell you that we wrap up our story here. I wish I could tell you that besides for Don Spirit's tragic past, with the accidental death of his son, Kyle Applejacks, there was nothing that could have possibly predicted the coming massacre. But that is simply not the case. You see, before Don Spirit was charged with felony possession of marijuana, he already had an extensive criminal past, one that he would continue to build upon until the very day when he killed his entire family and took his own life. There's really no need to take you through every single criminal charge in Don Spirit's 51 years on Earth. Not to mention that we can't. I was surprised to learn that New Jersey criminal records are confidential to the public. We do have access to lesser charges that were filed in municipal court, but the nature of municipal court is that they only cover fines of less than $500 or charges that carry punishment of less than 30 days in jail. So, while we can see about a dozen traffic offenses for improper display of plates, driving with a suspended license, and reckless driving, we cannot view the more severe crimes that might have been lurking in Don Spirit's past. I'm not sure the exact date that Don met his wife Christine, but we know they were married on December 10th, 1988 in Tampa, Florida. Don was 25 and Christine 21. 2 years later, in March of 1990, Don Spirit was picked up by Tampa police on a felony warrant charge out of New Jersey. What this charge was has regrettably escaped me. But what we do know is that Don was turned over to the New Jersey authorities. And this incident must have been taken care of because he appears back in Florida in October of 1992 when he was arrested for battery, charged with a first-degree misdemeanor, and sentenced to 1 month in jail. I'm curious to know who the victim was in that particular case, but unfortunately the case file has been destroyed. In the Florida Hillsborough County database, I got this message.
The case has been destroyed in accordance with the retention requirements set forth in rules of judicial administration.
So I guess they have an expiration date on misdemeanor battery cases in Florida. I found 2 more significant entries that occurred before the 98 felony possession of marijuana. The first involves yet another death, and I searched nearly every newspaper I could find, and I couldn't find any more information than what was listed in the criminal record. It says that Don Spirit was driving without a valid license, which seems to be his modus operandi. He was involved in a car crash, he left the scene, and somebody who was involved in that accident died. It doesn't actually say accident involves death until December, and the accident occurred in October. I couldn't get the name of the victim, and I couldn't understand exactly what Don Spirit's role in that accident was. But I was able to see that it was reduced to a county court case. Don Spirit was hospitalized for that accident. I found a copy of the lien that the hospital took out against him for not paying his bill, which was $340 at the Tampa General Hospital. He did eventually pay that bill, but I'm curious how bad that accident was and what injuries Don Spirit might have suffered. One year later, in 1995, Don Spirit would be charged with child abuse, specifically depriving a child of food and shelter. Don Spirit once again pled no contest, and on July 17, 1995, he was ordered to have no contact with victim. He was charged $75 and sentenced to 6 months of probation. The case file that we had access to did not list the victim, and it did not list any other details of these charges. Once again, the file was destroyed in accordance with Judicial Administration Rule 2.075. And with that, we are now caught up with Don Spirit's criminal history up to 2006, when he finished his 3-year sentence for possessing a firearm as a convicted felon. Before we continue our story, let's do a quick recap. the New Jersey mystery when he was extradited on a felony warrant in 1990, battery in 1992, driving without a license and an accident involving death in 94, depriving a child of food and shelter 1995, felony possession of marijuana 98, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon with an accident resulting in death in 2001. Any one of these events viewed in isolation would be cause for concern, but when taken as a whole, they present a clear and convincing pattern of negligent and criminal behavior. Coming up on Tapes from the Dark Side, in 2014, DCF investigated their handling of the Dawn Spirit case. The head of the organization, Mike Carroll, concluded,
There is no evidence to suggest that anyone, at any time, could have known that Dawn Spirit was capable of the premeditated and intentional massacre of his 6 grandchildren.
Thank you for listening to Tapes from the Dark Side. Please support our amazing musical artists that were featured on the show today, Augusta Trevirorum and 2600. Go to the show notes for links. They're both on Spotify, Bandcamp, and SoundCloud. We finally have stickers, and we're going to be shipping them out soon, plus our pin packs. We also have a holographic sticker for our Dark Star tier, and my favorite are the little 1-inch epoxy stickers. They're like little bubble stickers. Really cool looking, I think. Plus, you can get bonus episodes, after shows, merch discounts, and more. We also offer a yearly membership where you can get 2 months free. It takes less than 1 minute to sign up. Just go to patreon.com/tapesfromthedarkside or click the link in the show notes. Thank you to our Dark Stars, Florida Gallagher, Laura Huggins, Brooke Shell, James Harrington, JC, Jamie Taylor, Anthony Morlacci, Fran, Christy Ramsher, Alice Sontheimer, Chelsea Perry, Caitlin Bridges, Emily Warner, Jalen Olbrich, and Greg B. Because of our limited supply of merch, we only have 6 more spots in the Dark Star tier. So if you want to join, go sign up now. Thank you to our $5 Darksiders, Cass Reed, Amy Meyer, Kayla Downing, Karen Alden, Terry Torgeson, Xavier Diaz, Stephanie Falco, Alexis Kathleen, Laura Ridley, Jessica Hines, Hannah Jasinski, Catherine Larson, Katie Tidd, Lash Himes, Mandy Berry, Ross McKinnon, Laura Dyke, Pierce Wardner Lebrecht, Johnny Eckert, Worse Than Fiction, Tina Starr, Isaloya, Michelle Waranowitz, Gregory Andres, PM, and Kim B. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you another great true crime podcast out of the UK. This one is called Lady Justice and is hosted by Chantel. I highly recommend it. Here's the promo.
Hello, my lovelies. My name is Chantel, and I'm the host over at Lady Justice True Crime. Lady Justice is a weekly podcast that covers fascinating cases, both past and present, from around the UK and Ireland. Some of them are strange, many are unbelievable, all of them are completely unique and are someone's story. So please come join me on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Who said wizards have to have hair? I could be bald. You could be bald and be a wizard.
A dark side.